Okay, so today the first thing we are going to discuss is about the phases of a compiler. So how compiler actually works. Okay, so when I'm talking about the compiler, now see, the first step here is when the compiler is taking the input is the source code basically is written on higher level language. It means when you are writing a program in C language or any other programming language, Java, HTML, whatever it is. Okay, so it is written first in high level language. Then the first step here is the lexical analyzer. So it goes through the lexical analyzer first, then it will be going through the syntax analyzer. Now what happens in case of lexical analyzer? When the program goes into the lexical analyzer, the code, each line of the codes are broken into several pieces. All these pieces are called let me show you with an example. Now suppose if you're writing a simple line, that is, suppose x equal to y plus 10. Okay, so what happens in lexical analysis, the entire line is broken into few pieces, and all these pieces are singly called after breaking into all these pieces, each of the pieces are called tokens. Okay, so now see, first it will break into x, then equal, then y plus 10. So how it will break? So the first token, so it will first identify the tokens. Now it will describe what are these tokens, what are the meaning of each of these tokens. Now the first thing here is x, then we have equal, after that we have y, then we have plus, and the last one we have here is the 10. Okay, so we have got all these tokens here. Now it will demonstrate, the compiler after lexical analysis will demonstrate what each of these tokens mean. Now for x is basically a variable. X takes some value. Now I'll say it is an identifier. So x here will be declared as an identifier. Now the next thing we have here is an equal sign. Now equal sign is not an identifier actually, because it is actually getting some value. There will be some value for equal. No, sorry, there will be no value for equal. Rather, for this equal symbol, you can actually say that x has some value. So I'll say it is an operator, and this operator is called assignment operator. So this one is actually assignment operator. Now why I am telling it as an assignment operator? Because after using equal symbol, a value will be assigned to this identifier x. So it is called an assignment operator. Now we have y. Y is also an identifier because it will have some value. Now we have plus symbol. Now plus symbol, you can say plus is also an operator. Now this operator is actually doing addition, so I'll tell it addition operator. Okay, so after that we have 10. Now 10 10, I will not say 10 as an identifier, because 10 itself is a value. It doesn't contain any other value. It itself is a value which is 10. So it is simply a number. So when I am writing this simple line of code, x equal to y plus 10. Now here I have found how many tokens? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Total 5 tokens are there. And after going through the lexical analysis, it will divide the entire things into 5 tokens, and also that it will tell us the description of each of the tokens, what each of these tokens mean. Now for any variable, it will declare as an identifier, and for the operator symbols, it will declare what work is actually being done using this operator. And the tokens are also called lexemes. Okay. So tokens are also known as lexemes. Now this was a simple code which had only a single line. Now if I declare a code of a C programming, now you will also find the tokens there. For example, if I say int a equal to 5. Now after doing the lexical analysis, it will break the entire code, the entire line into several pieces. So here int, this is one token or lexeme, a one token or lexeme, equal is one token or lexeme, and 5 is another, and lastly the semicolon, it is also one lexeme. Now for int, so for int, actually it is a piece of code, or it is a keyword to declare a variable as an integer. So I'll say it is a keyword. The next lexeme we have a. So a is here working as an identifier. So whenever you see there is a variable a, b, c, whatever it is, it will be working as a identifier. Next we have equal. So equal symbol works as an operator, and that is actually an assignment operator. Next we have 5. 5 is a number. Then the last one we have is semicolon. So semicolon here is a terminator. Okay, so with semicolon, semicolon is definitely not an operator, not any symbol, not any keyword, neither it's a number, it's a terminator. It means the code line is ended here. It works as a full stop. As we use full stop in our English language, it works like that. Semicolon means the end of this line. Okay, so after going through, when this line is going through the lexical analysis phase, we get this kind of output here after lexical analysis. So after going through the lexical analysis, we actually found some tokens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually 4 tokens or 4 lexemes are found here. So up to this, do you have any confusion?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay, very good. So so first line is taken, then after lexical analysis we have
Lexical analysis is for each line.
so lexical analysis, what happens whenever you are writing a code, each of the lines of that code will be going through the lexical analysis. Okay, so suppose if I'm writing a simple code to add two numbers, what will happen? You will declare int a equal to 5, int b equal to 10, then int c equal to a plus b. Now each of the lines will go through the lexical analysis, and after going through the lexical analysis, each lines will be having few number of tokens declared. Okay. Okay, so once the lexical analysis is done, the output of lexical analyzer will be going through the syntax analyzer. Now after going through the syntax analyzer, a parse tree will be formed. Okay, so for example, if I'm talking about the first line, so suppose the code initially was written like a equal to b plus c into 10. Suppose this was your code. So after going through the lexical analysis, you will find this output first. So you will get output as id1, then it is an operator, id2, again operator, id3, again operator, then number. Okay, so this one are the done with the first step. Now this will be used as an input for your next phase, for the syntax analyzer. Okay, so after we're done with the lexical analysis, we have got some tokens and lexemes. Now the next step here is we will proceed with the lexemes and tokens that we have got to a parse tree. Now in the tree, we'll form a tree with all the things, all the informations or all the lexemes we have here right now. Now first thing is you have to maintain the sequence of the operators. Now see, if you mark the operators here, we have operators equal, plus and multiply. Now the operators will be considered while making the tree. The operators will be considered as the parent, and there will be two child of the parent. Now see, for this one, so the first thing here is equal. Now the equal symbol will be having two children. So see, so the first operator is here equal. Now this equal operator will be having two children. So one children here will be id1, because id1 will take the result. Now from where the result is coming, you have to check. Okay, student, is my screen freezed again? Is my screen freezed already? Are you seeing any movement on the screen or just freezed?
No movement. No, we can see any movement.
Okay, so it is taking, the equal symbol is taking one child as id1. Now the second child. Now it will assign the result here. The result will be coming from this line. Now see, when the result is coming from this line, you have to consider what is the last thing will be happening here. The last thing will be the plus operation. So the next child I will say is the plus symbol here. Now plus symbol will be having again 2 child. Now see, the plus symbol is between ID2 and ID3 into number 1. Now this operation will happen first, then the result.
Why plus comes first?
Sorry.
Why this plus sign is the child of equals?
Okay. So see, first you have to see the sequence of programming here. Okay. So you have to first find out on which sequence the programming is happening here. So the first thing will happen here is the work of multiplication. First ID3 and number will be multiplied. And while making the tree, remember the first task will be always at the bottom. It will be a bottom up approach. The entire work will be starting from the bottom. So what will happen here first, because since multiplication has higher priority, when there is a multiplication, division, addition, you first do the work of division, then for the multiplication. Okay, just simply the BODMAS rule. Okay, so what will happen here, first ID3 and number will be multiplied, then the result will be added with ID2, then the result will be assigned to ID1. Now when I'm making the tree, the last thing here will be happening is assigning with ID1. Now equal is in between ID1 and this line. So this line, if there were nothing else, suppose there were nothing else after this, only ID1 equal to ID2, then equal used to be having the 2 child. Okay, if there was nothing after plus, there will be it was supposed to be just ID1 and another child is ID2. Okay, but thing is not like that. Now you have to find out. Okay, so first ID1 is the 1 child, and after rest will be equal to rest will be the after equal sign. What is there after equal sign? Now after equal sign, ID2 is being added with this number, so I am writing symbol plus here as the next work. Now plus it has, so the another child, so see, plus is in between ID2 and ID3. Now one child is ID2, ID2, and another child is supposed to be ID3, but ID3 is not the exact thing because this operation is happening first. So here the another child will be multiplication. Then multiplication will be having the 2 child, ID3 and number. Okay, so this is the actual bottom up approach. Now if the equation was like this, suppose A equal to B multiply C plus 10, suppose if this was the equation, then also you were supposed to find out the priority first. So first this will happen, then this will happen. So while forming a tree for this equation, what you are supposed to do, first the equal sign, then the children will be A, so multiply again. Okay, so again like this would be the B. Okay, so see here we are doing it wrong. Here the child will not be the multiply, rather the child was supposed to be plus symbol, right?
How, ma'am?
See, because now see here I am writing multiply, but multiply was supposed to be in between B and C. So where is the rest of the part? You cannot form the rest of the part. Here only one parent, two children. This is the rule. One parent cannot have three children here. Okay.
মিস বুঝি নাই
বুঝেন নাই? আচ্ছা।
না
দেখেন আপনার হচ্ছে নর্মালি দেখতে হবে যে ইকুয়েশনের সিকোয়েন্সটা কি, ঠিক আছে? তো প্রথমে দেখবেন ইকুয়েশনের সিকোয়েন্স কি, এখানে a ইকুয়াল টু বি ইন্টু সি প্লাস 10। সো আমার ফার্স্ট টাস্ক কি, বি ইন্টু সি, এই কাজটা হচ্ছে আমার প্রথমে হবে। সো বি ইন্টু সি মাস্ট বি অ্যাট দ্য এন্ড। ওকে, সো ইট ইজ ইজিয়ার ফর ইউ ইফ ইউ ক্যান ডু বটম আপ ট্রি। Okay, so some people do it from the front top, some people do it from the bottom, everything is fine. Now if you do it from the bottom, see, so there will be b and c, then multiply. Now multiply is wait. Okay, so multiply is having two children b and c. Now multiply itself will be a child of some parent. Now here comes the parent is, so this is one child, this is one child, and plus will be another parent. Now multiply is one child, another child I can say is plus, parent is the plus, and here 10. Now the next thing is equal. So plus symbol will be children of equal and another child will be a. So equal, and equal has two child, one is a, another one is the plus symbol. So remember, always operator will be acting as parent, okay, and the children will be the identifiers here. Okay, so some people draw this tree like that, they keep the plus here and multiply here. Okay, this is ambiguous, this is actually also correct, but in case of calculation we first do the work of multiplication always. Okay, and this approach is bottom up. The counting starts from here. First it is multiplied, then it is added with id2, then the after addition the result is assigned to id1. So this is the result of your syntax analysis. Once the lexemes are passed to the syntax analyzer, you get this output as a tree. Okay, so up to this any confusion?
Oh, ma'am.
No. Okay, fine. So the next thing we have, after going to the syntax analyzer, we have semantic analyzer. Now semantic analyzer will also give a tree, but the difference between syntax and semantics is syntax actually work with the structure. Syntax always checks whether the structure is correct or not. Okay, so for syntax means it acts with the structure, but in case of semantic it means it works with the meaning. Now syntax, it works with the structure, but semantic okay, so when we made the tree, after making the tree it will first check if the tree is correct, if the tree is correct in in an aspect of the meaning. Okay, if the meanings are all right. Now see, here we had a number 10. Now logically think the number was actually mentioned as a number, simply a number. Now the number 10 here is actually integer. So actually 10 is an integer here. Now what if the value of b and c are not integer? What if the value of b and c have points in them? Suppose these are in decimals or floating points. Now what will happen? Now you have to convert the 10 integer into float, because you don't know the value of b and c, whether it is integer or floating. Now in that case, in the semantic analysis, what will happen? The number will be converted into a floating point. So what happens here? We had the tree like earlier. The similar tree will be drawn here. So the similar tree like equal and equal have two children, id 1. Then here is the plus symbol. Plus has two children, multiply. I think I'm running out of space here. Okay. Okay, same. So the earlier tree, it was equal id 1, then we have plus symbol, it has id 2, then we had multiply, and multiply was between id 3 and here was a number. Now this number will be actually converted into a floating point. So another step will be added. Just here another step will be added. It will be converted int to float. Okay. So the same tree as the syntax analysis will be here. The semantic, only the number will be converted into floating point. If that was an integer, it will be converted. So the new step here, this one is added. Now what happens in case of semantic analysis? So whenever you are going through the semantic analysis, it will check for the type compatibility. Okay. So if suppose there is an integer and there is another character, so you cannot actually do a summation between a character and an integer. It is impossible to do. So it will convert it here. Now it will actually check for this kind of meanings actually. So for example, it will do the type checking, and also if it will check if the language has this kind of operation or not. So suppose if you are using a symbol which is acceptable in Java but it is not acceptable in C language, so after doing the semantic analysis, it will give an error. Error will be handled in that way. Okay. Next, after going to the semantic analyzer, we will be having intermediate code generator. Now intermediate code is neither higher level totally nor totally lower level. So it is something up which is nearer to higher level and which is nearer to the machine level. So this intermediate code is actually understood by the programmer also and also by the computer. So in case of intermediate code, you write few temporary variables will be used here. So you will be using few temporary variables. Okay. Now see, as I said, it will be going through the bottom up approach. Now it will be you will be writing the intermediate code according to the sequence, actual sequence. Now for this sequence, the first task we have to do is we have to convert the integer into the float. So this is our first task. here. Now what you will do, you will declare a temporary variable, that is t. So it is t1. Now t1 will do convert. Now here you declare a function, that is int to float, and our number was, I guess, 10 here. So what it will do, it will convert the 10 into a float. So after converting, 10 will become something like 10.000. How many zeros you allow? Okay, 10.00. Now the next task here is, you have got the number. Next task here is, you have to do the multiplication. Now you have to do multiplication between ID3 and also T1. Now we'll declare another temporary variable, that is T2. Now T2 will be equal to, see, ID3 into T1. Okay, so in this steps this step is done. Now we'll do the addition. We'll declare another variable T3 and ID2 will be added to the T2. Another variable T3 is equals to ID2 plus T2. Now we have got the final result. Now we'll be assigning the value to ID1. So we'll be declaring another variable, that is T4 equal to the value of T3. So the value of T3 will be given to the variable T4. So this is the intermediate code. Now this intermediate code will always take the temporary variables, and it will give the step-by-step operations from the tree you have formed earlier. Okay. Now once intermediate code is generated, then code will be optimized. Now after going through the code optimizer, see, so in this case intermediate code, see, you have actually 4 lines of code here, but you have to now optimize the code, minimize as much as possible. So what you will do here, now see, this 2 lines of code actually is possible to be minimized. So how I can do that? I can do it like T1 one value, and I'll be giving multiply ID3 into some floating point. So I'll do it something like T1 is equal to ID3 multiply by 10.00. So I have minimized or optimized these 2 lines of code into 1 line. Now in the next step I'll do only addition. So I'll be declaring T2 equal to, so I have T1 already, and T1 will be added to the ID2. Plus T1. So the entire 4 lines of code is actually minimized or optimized into 2 lines of code. So that's how code optimization is done. Now the last thing here will be target code generation. Now in these steps the machine code, the actual machine code will be generated. Now if you remember anything from the microprocessor class where you have done the machine codes, so those codes will be actually generated here in this format. So see, for the formation of target code, so the target code will be actually generated according to the machine, according to the intermediate code, not according to the optimized code. It will be generated from this one. Okay, so see, the first step here we have, the first step here will be actually where sorry, so the first step is okay, sorry, so the first here you have to declare first the or you have to bring the ID3 into some memory, because the first thing here is ID3. Now ID3 will be loaded, so I'll be writing the code move. Now if ID3 and to R2. Okay, so what is happening here, I am taking the ID3, then I'm moving it into the register 2, R2. In the next step I will be multiplying. So for multiply I will write the code MUL, then F, ten 0.0, and it will be okay. So here, okay, so why I have written hash, in this case in our PC actually hash means it is having some value, the numerical value or character value. Okay, now so multiply, so what is happening here, see this portion 10.00 is actually being multiplied with ID3. So we had in R2 already we had ID3. Now we are multiplying 10.0 with the value in R2, then again saving the value into R2. Now the next step will be move. Now next thing is ID2. Okay, ID2 will be given to another register. So I'm giving ID2 into another register, suppose R1. Now what will happen? Now I will add, now I have ID2 into R1 register. I have the result of multiplication in R2. Now I will add R1 and R2. So add R1 and R2. Now these two are added. Now I have the result already in R1. So after getting the result I have to say I have already the result into R1. Now the final step is I have to declare the result as ID1, because there is an equal sign. I have to do the work of that also. Now move, so the result R1 will be declared as ID1. So this is the last machine code. Okay, so earlier I wrote a simple piece of code that was A equal to B equal to B plus C into 10. Now when you are writing this one line, computer actually understand these 5 lines. Computer doesn't understand this one line. Computer will go through all these phases to finally understand or finally make the machine codes of these 5 lines. Okay, so after that the target code is generated. Now there are two other things, one is symbol table and another one is error handling. So error handling is actually happening after each of the steps. After each of the steps, they will consider whether there is an error or not. If there is an error, it will be giving some error. Then the compiler will give compilation error. So suppose whenever you are writing a wrong piece of code, suppose you are not writing equal, in place of equal you just gave plus. So after compilation, it will give you some error, syntax error, or it will say semantic error. Okay, so after doing each of the steps, it will let you know which kind of error actually happened. Now another thing here is symbol table. So symbol table is basically a data structure how the compiler saves the data. So symbol table look like something like that. Okay, there is a symbol, there will be type and scope. So each of the symbols are saved here. So when I said ID, I said operator 1 or assignment operator, all these symbols are actually given in this first block. Then the second block will declare what is the type of this lexeme, and the last one is scope. Scope means what you can do or what you are doing with that operator or that symbol, and then it will be linked with each other according to the operation. Okay, so up to this, do you have any confusion?
No, ma'am.
No confusion?
No.
Okay.
Take care.